Rick's List, CNN weekday afternoons, 3 Eastern.
It's good to see the president getting engaged. As we get closer to the fall elections, it's important that he deliver the message for us, because he is, in the first and last analysis, our most effective message deliverer, no question about that. And he's got to get engaged, and I think the Republicans have opened the door, Rick, with huge mistakes. First, criticizing him for the BP settlement, saying it was extortion. I think the American people, 95% of them, reject that. Second, siding with Wall Street and not enacting a financial responsibility bill. Wall Street's more unpopular than even Washington is these days. And thirdly, turning their backs on unemployed people who are desperately searching for jobs by voting against, not only against the extension of unemployment benefits, but by some Republicans characterizing it as an entitlement. And then, of course, there's Michael Steele, who's the gift that keeps on giving for us. So I think the door has been opened for us, and the president is walking right through that pretty firmly.
Well, if that's the case, Governor, and you know, that's all well and good, and you're probably correct, but if you look at the numbers, it doesn't bear out the argument that you just made. Why the disconnect?
Well, I think it's going to take some time, because I think for too long, and you've heard me say that, I've said it on your show, for too long we were too diffident. For too long we stayed back. For too long we played by the gentleman's rules instead of getting in there and being rough and tumble. And now I think it's time to start fighting back and telling the American people, do you want to elect a party that thinks we were too tough on BP? Do you want to elect a party that protects Wall Street again and leaves the door open for another tragedy happening like what's plunged us into this recession? So I think it's time for that tough message, and I think that will resonate over time.
What about just what about just a, you know, when I talk to my writers on this newscast, one of the things I always drill down on, and they'll tell you to a person, is be concrete. Tell people exactly what you're trying to say. Don't speak obliquely. Don't be abstract. Right. If you have something about white sheet of paper, say white sheet of paper. Don't say writing utensils. The Bush administration would literally pass legislation that would allow corporations to put a little bit maybe more, well, let me not use the word pollution, but to put a little bit more smoke in the air, and they'd call it the Blue Skies Initiative. This administration passes legislation they believe is good for the American people, and they call it names that most people can't even wrap their heads around. Is that part of their problem?
Yeah, and no question about it. And number one, the president is so smart and so scholarly that sometimes his phraseology is not easy for the average American to understand. But I think he's ratcheting down and delivering a very impactful message these days, number one. And number two, we got out-communicated.